Hello and welcome to episode 209 of the Filmmakers Podcast. This is a podcast where we talk filmmaking, from indie film to studio films and everything in between. How to get them made, how to make them, and how to try not to F it up, in our very, very humble opinion. But it's Friday. I hear you cry out into the podcast ether, the podcast black hole of nothingness, where you can just scream out, wherever that is, to the podcast devices of your choice, that it's a Friday. How is it possible the Filmmakers Podcast are putting out an episode on a Friday? It's always Tuesday. What is going on? Well, let me tell you. I recorded this episode at the start of COVID and things just got on top of me, and I apologise to our guest because it just sat there unedited and unloved, but it's so hard to fit everything in. We only put one out a week and there's always a new release, and therefore a new guest needs to come on and talk about it and help you grow as filmmakers. So I thought this episode would come out as a special today, this Friday, because it is a fabulous episode and I'm gutted I didn't put it out before now. So, I am now, maybe a little late, but I am now very excited to tell you we have on Joshua Smith. Now, Joshua has made a country music road trip comedy feature film called Buckshot. One good thing about me putting this out later, shall we say, is that Buckshot is now available in the UK. It's now available on Prime, so you can go watch it there. It's also available in the US on Prime and on iTunes. So maybe there was some benefit in me putting this out late. Do seek it out. Do support Josh. And do follow him at Buckshot Movie. Myself and Josh sat down and had a natter all about what it was like working on big features, which he had done before he made his first feature. We also talk about crowdfunding, Indiegogo, and travelling around with your missus, filming along the way, making a micro-budget, dramatic comedy indie film. We also talk about how he rewrote the script to fit the budget, and we talk about making Western comedy set around country music. Josh gives you some screenwriting and some shooting schedule tips. He also talks about the importance of putting pickups into your budget. But brilliantly, we talk about getting a release, getting distribution, which is exactly what Josh did with Buckshot. I am Giles Alderson. I am a writer, director and a producer, and I have just handed in to the producers the director's cut of The Stranger in Our Bed. Super excited. We are going to do a couple of really small pickups in the next coming weeks, and then it's on to grade and post. It's my third live action directed feature, and I'm super excited to get that out. It's a thriller based on a best-selling book of the same name, and it's really exciting. Can't wait to get back and see some of the team again as well. It's always nice when you do that after a shoot. So, for those of you who have listened to the episode with Matthew Modine, which came out on Tuesday, thank you so much. Oh my God, your comments and likes and shares have been incredible. But Matthew was an amazing guest, and I hope you've all gone out and watched Wrong Turn and supported him. And if not, followed him on Twitter and given him some love for being on this podcast. Please do that at Matthew Modine. You will find him and just say thank you for being on the Filmmakers Podcast. That would be really cool. This week, I managed to watch one of my old short films. I've been redoing my showreel. First time in 4 years, and I thought, right, it's time to redo it. So I started to look through all the stuff I'd done. I was like, oh wow, yeah, there was that one as well, and that short film. And I watched my first ever short film. And it made me think, because I remember at the time going, wow, this is great. Wow, this is brilliant. This is going to explode me onto the world. And people are going to go, oh gosh, we must hire him to make a feature. Well, looking back now, I kind of realise why that didn't happen. I think at the time I got very excited because I'd managed to ask someone politely to point a camera in the right direction where actors were stood in the vague direction where I'd asked them to stand, and it made sense. It looked pretty, and it was a film. And I think I got excited by that. And we can all do that. But that's not why I brought this up. I brought this up because we should never get disheartened by that. We should never think, oh gosh, I can't make a film and it not be good enough, and not worry about it. Because at the time, whatever you're making is right for you at that point. It's your journey. It's your discovery of learning that you get by making films. And the more you make, the better you become. And I made God knows how many short films before I made my feature. God knows how many music videos and corporates and whatever. And it's so important to do that. And it doesn't matter if it's not good enough. It actually doesn't. Because my execs on my debut movie did not watch my short films. They just did not. Well, they might have done, but it certainly didn't have any effect on them actually giving us some money to make the film. Stephen Follows, who does a brilliant blog called stephenfollows.com, in one of his latest blogs, he talked about what the average age most directors are when making feature films. From its debut to their 70th feature. It's unlikely, but you know what I mean. The age is 45 to 50. That's the average age of directors making movies right now. That's got to give you some inspiration and hope. Whatever age you are, you can go out there and do it. And if you want to make your films, you can make it happen. It basically means you have time if you're young. And if you're older than 50, you can still do it. There should be no age restriction on this at all. And what it also tells you is that there is no one route. And whatever route you take will be yours. Just don't stop. Don't give up. Believe in what you have and go make your indie film. That short is called Barry Brown. It's not on my website, so you can't see it. Says it all, doesn't it? Coming up this Tuesday's episode is with the stylist director, Jill Gavargazian. She has a wonderful chat about making her horror film, The Stylist, which is out now, by the way. So that is on Tuesday. You can look forward to that. But I wanted to give a few shout-outs. I haven't done this for a while, so I'm only going to give a few now, and I'll give some more next week. But shout-outs to Chloe Kudasama and Leroy, Matthew J. Lawrence, Martin Neely, Diane Knight, Jane Gull, who'll be on the podcast very soon, Elliot Maguire, Connor Burrow, Rain McCormack, who has been on the podcast, Jessica Drowse, Guy Pigden, who also is coming up very soon, Will Kenning and Andrew Barnabas. Shout outs to you. Thank you so much for your love and support. But an absolutely huge shout out goes to Chad from Perfect Package Podcast for editing this week's episode. If you notice, at the end of the Matthew Modine podcast was the trailer for his podcast Perfect Package. Do go listen. It's all part of the Podfix network, which is a huge network of amazing podcasts. But do go support them and check out Chad's Perfect Package, as it were. So let's get to this special episode with Joshua Smith. Enjoy. Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Oh, this is a pleasure, man. This is great. I mean, you got in contact with us and told me about your film and said, this is what we've got. And I was like, this looks interesting. This is an indie filmmaker after my heart who goes out there and makes the films. And that's what the podcast is all about. You know, how do indie filmmakers go out there and just do it? And that's exactly what you did. And I love that. I love that you reached out and said, hey, come and talk to me about Buckshot. And I was like, I love it. Westerns, why not? They're just sweet. So obviously Buckshot, we'll talk in depth about that, about this Western feature film that you've made, but let's talk about how you actually started. How did you become a filmmaker? How did you even get to Buckshot in the first place?
Yeah, I grew up in Kansas and then moved to Austin, Texas.
Yep.
And I was going to go to the University of Texas and I ended up working at a hotel. It was weird. I was a bellman and then I got to the front desk and then
congratulations. Look at you moving up.
I was only 21, so
wow.
It was moving pretty quickly. And anyway, I was going to sit out a year and then I was going to go to school. And so my year was up. I quit the hotel and my friend was the director of sales. Emilio Estevez walked in and wanted to rent some of the hotel as his offices, and then he wanted to stay there. And so my friend basically made a deal with the producer. It was like, I'll give you $1,000 off your bill if you hire my friend. And so that was it. I started working in movies.
Stop it. And he agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Serious.
So they totally agreed. Yeah. And it was an amazing thing because I was working in the office. So I was getting all the resumes from all the college kids and I was just filing them away. And I was like, well, I'm already here. I already have, my foot in the door.
Yeah.
So,
why would I give this away?
And I'm the type of person that I've done well with things that I've just thrown in the deep end and then have to struggle to figure it all out.
Yeah.
More than a person that just, studies and figures it out.
I know what you mean.
So that bared really well for me. So I worked on big budget movies in Austin. So I did like Office Space and Varsity Blues and all the Sandra Bullock movies, Hope Floats, Miss Congeniality. So I would do those like 8 months out of the year. And then 4 months out of the year, I would take the money that I was going to spend on college and I would make a short film like every year.
I love that. You see, that's the get up and go that makes you a brilliant indie filmmaker, right?
You're working with other people that are, some of the assistants and stuff are starting out. So you're like, hey, you're the camera assistant. Do you want to DP my short?
Yeah.
It kind of, that's how you make relationships and meet people and stuff. So
yeah, I mean,
it worked out really well for me.
It did work out really well. And it must have been amazing to work on some of those big films though. And sort of,
it's great. Yeah. Just to see behind the curtain and meet celebrities and just a lot of people come out of film school and you might understand, movies that you've seen, but once you work on them, then you see how they're put together. And that education is phenomenal.
Yeah.
And that's kind of game changer.
Yeah, I totally agree. A lot of people, film schools are brilliant. There's some great pluses from them, but they do cost a lot of money. And the fact is, you could go be a runner and learn so much more, especially if you're proactive and get up and go about you. You can go out there and do it that way. It's a route. It's a great route.
Yeah. And I think it's also a good way. And also like people just interning. So take that money that you're going to go to school and use it to live on while you intern and like try to figure it out and meet people. I just got lucky and I was getting paid, right off the bat.
Yeah. Yeah. Congratulations. So was all that whole time, were you thinking, I know you were making shorts, but did you want to be a feature film director? Was that something you wanted to do?
Oh, definitely. Definitely. And it was one of those things where then, 3 months, 4 months out of the year wasn't enough for me. To do films, so to actually make my own film. So then I started doing commercials. So commercials, you can make more money and you can get in and out pretty quickly.
Very true.
And so in between there, I could write or I could, work on other people's low budget films. And I kind of continued that trajectory. And then I had it worked out for a few years where I would produce somebody else's film, like a smaller budget film. I would do one a year, and then the rest of the time of the year I would do commercials. So I had a pretty big run on that. I did this movie Kablooey. Sony, it's called Kablooey.
Yes.
And Sony Pictures Classics released it, and it starred Lisa Kudrow.
Yep.
And I was one of the producers on that. And then after that, I did a movie called Pretty Ugly People, and it was directed by Tate Taylor. It was basically the whole team that did The Help, one movie before The Help. So we had Tate wrote and directed it. Brunson Green was the producer, which he produced The Help. And then I was the co-producer. And then we had Melissa McCarthy, Octavia Spencer.
Missy Pyle's in there.
Missy Pyle, Josh Hopkins.
Yeah.
A lot of great people. And then I got married.
I love that. As if that just stopped everything.
I started doing a little more commercials. And then at that point, I started producing commercials. So it started to get a little more lucrative for me. And then I just I'd grown tired of producing other people's films and kind of seeing, I was really good at it and I liked doing it. But then my ego kind of got in the way where I was just tired of making other people's films. I wanted to make mine.
Yep.
So I just being inspired by, I had another friend that did a movie called The Taiwan Oyster.
Okay.
And he had made it in Taiwan and he made it for $38,000.
Wow.
And I saw the movie and I got picked up by Sundance Selects. And it didn't have any stars in it, but it was really good. And it just blew my mind. I was like, well, wait a minute. With that amount of money, like I could go do my own film. Come hell or high water. So I started writing something. I was smart where I was like, okay, I'm going to write something with two people in an RV going cross country, stopping at motels and bars along the way. I mean, road trips are kind of the easiest things to accomplish. And it also makes for a great, great story.
It does make a great story. Now, interestingly, you said about that, it makes it easy to accomplish. Is that because, and it's good for our listeners to know this, because, if they're trying to make their first feature, they go, well, should it be all set in one room? Should it be a road trip? Now, I've done both. And I know that road trip movies can be difficult and it can be to do with locations, but you're only in them for a short period of time. You might only need an actor for a day, which is great because you can get maybe a name in or whoever. You said there that you found it was a good way to go. Can you explain a little more?
Do you remember the Polish brothers?
Yes. Yeah.
they did this movie called Jackpot, and I had seen.
Yeah.
And do you remember what Jackpot was about?
I think, yeah, it was.
John Grise. He played a karaoke singer.
Yeah.
And he's going with oh my God, it's not Marcus Garrett. He was the African American gentleman that was on the first SNL. Morris Garrett, I think it's his name, or Garrett Morris. Sorry,
yeah, Garrett Morris. Yes,
is his manager, and they're traveling to these small towns, and he's trying to win these competitions. And I saw the behind the scenes, and the Polish brothers were talking about how they took one location that was a kind of slash diner bar.
Mm-hmm.
And they shot it for like 4 different diners and bars. So it was just, they stayed in the same location and then they dressed it differently. And I was like, oh man, that's so smart. And so I used a little of that for the movie as well. And then we kind of did the same thing with the motels. They stay in a couple of different motels and we used the same motel and kind of dressed it differently.
Yeah.
So those were the kind of cheats that I was after. And then I had this brilliant idea where it's kind of like Get Him to the Greek. Have you ever seen that?
Of course.
So they've got to go from Seattle to Nashville in 5 days in a really crappy RV. I had this idea where I was going to only write the places that they stopped were places that my wife and I would go on holiday. We would drive to these places and we would shoot B-roll all the way there and all the way back.
That's incredible. So is your missus okay with this, by the way? Because, you know what I mean? This is like, can we stop? I've got another shot. Oh my God, the sun's perfect. Can we stop again? She's like, really?
She's very patient. I got very lucky. She loves me very much. And she was the editor on the film as well. So we met in production. So she really gets it. And she was executive producer on the movie as well. So,
oh, great.
A year of that did get on her nerves for sure. But we still were able
she
to
loves
do it.
you and she loves your passion. And she was like, yeah, all right.
She humored me. So, but yeah, the majority of the movie we shot here in Los Angeles. And it was one of those things where we did do some crowdfunding.
Okay.
Wasn't very good to me. It's
okay.
kind of the worst thing that ever happened to me.
Go on, tell us more, because we've done it. Other people on here have done it. Yeah.
I think my biggest mistake, because I had a friend that he had a consulting firm that would help out crowdfunding campaigns, and I kind of got some advice from him. And man, I spent 5 or 6 months like ramping it up. And I was doing everything correctly, I thought. And I think one of our biggest mistakes was we didn't, and I'm not saying you need a big star, but you need someone on your cast that has a big social media following.
Yeah, something. Yeah.
Yeah, you need that one little thing that'll put you over the edge. Unless if you're doing something about Alzheimer's or some kind of cause, then you can, partner up with a charity or partner up with an organization. Mm-hmm. That always helps out too. And, our movie is about country music. So and the idea with the crowdfunding is not, you don't want to do, like a shotgun, scatter blast everyone in the world. If you look at, there's 100 million country music fans. I tried to narrow it down to a niche,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that niche was outlaw country music, and people were more tight knit and more passionate about it. So those are the people that I went for. But anyway, long story short, we by far did not even get close to reaching our goal. And
was it an all or nothing? Or
no, we did Indiegogo. I was smart in doing that. Yes. Because I wouldn't be speaking to you now if I had done Kickstarter for sure. And that money was used for the movie, and I couldn't have made the movie without it. So I mean, it was kind of a give and take, but you have to be very realistic. And the amount of time that I spent prepping for it is the amount of time I could have been doing other things or doing more commercials just to get more money or something. So I don't know. I would have done it a little bit differently. But when we finally came out with the budget that we had, it was like we went from, I took 6 months before that and I had like our A budget and I went out to everyone, as many people as I could hit up. And so we did that for 6 months and went after like, real money. And when I say real money, like 500,000, I think was our goal first.
Was that your A? That was your A budget.
That was our A, and then I think B was 250, and then I think we ended up at D. so I ended up putting it in the can for 38,000, just like my friend. So
okay. So
and then obviously there was some costs after that.
Of course. And have you putting your own money of this in as well?
Yeah. So it was the conjunction of the crowdfunding and then my own money as well.
Oh, so that's what you meant with the 38. That was yours, right? Okay, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it was one of those things too, where I also wrote it where if everything went to hell, I could greenlight it myself, and so I always knew that. And that was kind of the saving grace. It would just, I had to rewrite the script and kind of, think of it a little bit creatively in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't too far different than what we ended up with.
Let's talk about how you wrote it then, because it's not easy to sit and write a script. So how did you go about coming up with the idea?
Let the listeners know, though, Buckshot's a dramatic comedy. And it's about a young, struggling country singer, and he moves to Nashville to follow in his late father's footsteps of becoming a country star. But when he gets to Nashville, he finds out that his father has a really checkered past, and all his chances are derailed. And he has the only thing he has is a job offer to drive Buckshot Thomas, and he's this like kind of crazy, aging, hard-living honky-tonk legend, cross country, and to what could be the last concert of his life.
Here's the job. You got 5 days to get that son of a bitch to Nashville. He makes it on time, you play the showcase.
Well, this here is my trip, and we're gonna do it my way.
As long as we get to Nashville, we can do whatever floats your boat, Pops.
You ever call me that again, you're gonna wind up like your damn telephone.
His songwriting's what put him on the map. But people quit booking him because he'd be too drunk to play.
Just drive this goddamn thing and leave me the hell alone, will you? Oh, hold on. You want to be a country singer? What the hell is this? Are these some kind of songs or some Yankee poetry?
Man, those lyrics are from last night, huh?
Charlie, I became a songwriter because I like telling my stories. It's that conviction that people connect with. Hell, I can show you. I'll help you try to find your true country performance.
You keep working on them songs.
You never know. This might not be your last stop either.
Amazing, yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of where I started with. And the idea germinated from, I worked with Willie Nelson a long time ago, like when I was first starting out in Austin, and I was just a production assistant. I was the guy that, would knock on this trailer and say, "Oh, Mr. Nelson, they're ready for you." And I would walk him to set.
Yeah.
There was a moment where, his bus is very famous. Like the idea is if you get on Willie's bus, it's like, dream come true. And he's usually smoking weed. And this time, sadly, he was just getting over pneumonia or something.
Okay.
So he wasn't smoking, but I was on the bus.
Wow.
And I got FaceTime with him, and he was a big football fan, and I was kind of updating him on football scores. And in the back of my mind, I was like, man, how wild would it be just to be a fly on the wall on this bus, going to cross country to some concert with him. Mm-hmm. And so that's where I had this idea that I kind of filed away for years. I'm a really big fan of country music, and there's kind of a disconnect going on in the country music world where there's this new pop country, and in derogatory way they call it bro country.
Okay.
That a lot of, and then there's other, like outlaw country is also known as pure country, real country. It's kind of like the Willie Nelson, Waylon Jennings, Shooter Jennings, even Sturgill Simpson, is outlaw country.
Yeah.
These two factions are at war with each other. And so I thought, like, how great would it be if you had a young kid who wants to be a pop country star for all the wrong reasons, doesn't really know that much about, real country music, and he's stuck with this legend, whether he's just a one-hit wonder, but still a legend. He's stuck in this RV with him to go cross country, and that's where he kind of learns what real country music is.
I mean, it's such a great concept. It's, it's kind of an old school story, but yet you put your own spin on it, and I think that's really nice, and I think it's lovely. I think it's a beautiful film. I think you shot it so well with the budget now that I know that you had. It's like, wow. And just going around shooting a movie like this with those beautiful locations. And obviously it was something that you were massively passionate about as well. And that comes across. It seeps into every pore. And I think that's lovely. Yeah, maybe just talk to us about how you got the cast then, how you now set up about making the movie.
Well, I was also a huge fan of like 70s and 80s country movies. So Willie Nelson had made a bunch of different movies like Honeysuckle Rose and Songwriter. And then I love movies like Smokey and the Bandit. And then Clint Eastwood did Every Which Way But Loose, which is kind of a country music movie.
Yes.
But anyway, those inspired me. But I also, from those movies, I loved the character actors. Like, character actors are my favorite people of all time. Like Harry Dean Stanton, Slim Pickens, Warren Oates. Those guys are just, and Warren Oates, I think, had he's, God rest his soul, had he still been alive, would have been my number one choice. But we hired a casting director, and then kind of went through the process. It was a really long process because of the budget changing. Mm-hmm. So, we had big name people that were applying, but we didn't have the money to pay them. And then some investors were interested, but then we don't have the cast attached, and the chicken and the egg syndrome.
Always.
But I got really lucky because the two younger actors, the 20-somethings, I cast them first. And the main character, Charlie Stillman, Connor Murphy played him. And we were 2 weeks out from shooting, and I still didn't have my buckshot. And he had recommended a family friend, this guy named Tim DeZarn, for me to take a look at him. And I definitely recognized him. I watched his reel, and he kind of plays this small town sheriff in like every, TV show you've ever seen.
Yeah, he's also in Fight Club. He's in, he's the guy in Cabin in the Woods.
Super famous scene in Cabin in the Woods. And he's right now featured on Apple TV Plus. He plays Aaron Paul's dad in Truth Be Told.
Oh, okay. Not seen
so, he's super experienced. And I met with him, and we read through the script, and he was a person just in his life that had gone through a lot of the same things that Buckshot had gone through, a lot of loss. He's a recovering, alcoholic, and that's something that Buckshot is as well. So there was a lot of things, just him as a human being, that he could also see in this character.
Yes.
It was, I ended up landing him, and he was amazing. I've worked with a lot of people, but he was definitely the most seasoned actor I've ever worked with.
Uh-huh.
And he would do this amazing thing. We would step on set to do blocking. The cinematographer would already have the lens on, and we'd be talking about where you needed to be. And the cinematographer would say, "Hey, Tim, can we have you move?" And he would move, boom. He'd be like, "Right here." And every single time he would land perfectly, not knowing what lens we're on, like any of that stuff. He was just awesome.
Pro. Yeah, done it before, knew where the light was. Yeah.
And then, sometimes he would look through the script and say, "Hey, what if I didn't say this line and I did this look instead?"
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Like, that's so great. That's
if you could do that all the time, it'd be brilliant.
Yeah. And the great thing about him is once he came on board, there were some holes we still had to fill. And some of them, or most of them, were the older actors that we needed. And so he started calling his friends, and we got this guy, Frank Collison.
Of course, he's amazing.
Yeah, he plays this blind guitar maker in the movie, and he had been in tons of Coen Brothers movies. Like, he's just really a national treasure, and we only had him for one day. And so he's playing a blind person, so I gave him some frosted sunglasses. Yeah, he couldn't see, and we couldn't see his eyes. And so we shoot with him for that day, and he was super nice, and everything, was going really well. But there was just something off. Like, I just couldn't put my finger on it. I remember afterwards, I told my wife, I was like, I don't know, he was just okay. And I was kind of bummed out. And it wasn't until I finally got to sit down with the footage and I got to watch him on screen. He was doing things that I couldn't even see on the day.
Yeah.
And those scenes are some of the most memorable scenes in the movie. He is amazing. He's awesome.
I love it when actors bring something that you weren't expecting, and it could be a little eye flick, an eyebrow, a move, or a thought process inside.
Subtle.
It's so amazing when they do those little things. They know what they're doing.
And it's also like just for actors, and especially with younger actors, just figure out less is more. You don't have to do that much. Let the camera do all the part,
let the story do it. Absolutely. So you've got your cast. So you've managed to do that.
So based on that, I brought on Tim as a producer as well, because he brought all these amazing actors. He brought his wife's in the movie as well.
Oh yeah,
she's a really great actress. Yeah, she plays a scene opposite him, and then. This other actor named Alan Wasserman, who was on Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Of course.
He played the head of HBO with his real name. It's Alan Wasserman, the head of HBO. So he played the honky tonk owner, and he was great too. So the cast wise, I really lucked out. And so then going back to the writing process, something that I wrote the film. It took me like a year or two to get it all straightened out and up to speed. And the one thing that when I was writing, when the songs would come up, because the movie's about two songwriters, and it's they have original songs in the movie. And when we were first raising money, I had put a line item that was like, oh, well, we'll hire some real musician and he'll write all the music, and then the budget started getting lower and lower. And then I'd written into the script just placeholders of real songs, like a Willie Nelson song or Waylon Jennings song, whatever that song was,
can't afford that.
Yeah. But it also would give that person an idea if I want something, that tells this kind of story of that song. So finally, crunch time started coming in. One of my friends was like, look, somebody's got to write these lyrics. Like, you got to get on this. So I finally trapped myself in a room and just was banging it out on my own, just from my love of music and fan of songwriting. But I'd never tried it before. I have no musical ability whatsoever. And I ended up writing all the songs but one in the movie. And then we did hire some musicians to put, the actual music to it. But that was a tall order. And it's some of the biggest accolades that I get, that people really love the lyrics. So
see, that's really amazing, isn't it? We can do that if something we really believe in and really want to do. We lock ourselves away for a little while in a room and go, I'm going to write this. I'm going to make it happen. And you did, which is great. You'd already written the script at this point, but so let's just jump back in terms of how did you write the story? Did you write it as in, because you had the idea, did you do a scriptment? Did you do scene by scene?
What I did first was I hadn't done a short film in a while. So I directed a short film, and that kind of got my juices going. And then right after it, I wrote the short film of Buckshot. And I was like, oh, I'm going to do another short film. And then when I met with my friend, and he was like, hey, if you just put some more money into it, could be a feature. So then I elongated it. And back then it was just in a motel room. So it was like Buckshot held up in a motel room with this kid having to go to the hotel room and get him out of the hotel room to get him to the concert. So it was just kind of a snapshot of the movie. And then from there I started outlining, and usually I do the outline for as long as I can. I don't want there are always going to be surprises, but for me it's better to have it all outlined so that you at least have a roadmap of where to go. And then, I started banging it out, and that's where I ended up.
Right, great. Did you give it to anyone to look over? Did your Alyssa?
Yeah,
is that how you pronounce her name?
Yeah, she read a lot of it, and I'm lucky enough to have a lot of screenwriter friends, so I got a lot of notes. It's just one of those things, you get a lot of notes, then you're like, well, who's right and who's wrong? And finally, you just got to trust your gut, and you could keep tinkering it with it forever. That's another thing that you have to be worried about. And my friend that made the movie for 38,000 in Taiwan, I was just spellbound. I was like, well, how do you just do it? And he's like, here's the deal. You set a date, and the train's going to leave the station, go into that date. And either people get on the train or they get off the train. But that train's going, and it's going to stop as soon as the movie's over. So that's what really helped me. Like, finally, when I said, look, the script's locked, and here's the date we're going to shoot. Let's start assembling everyone. And I don't care if I got $10 and a Super 8 camera and it's me and my wife shooting it, then that's what it's going to be. But it's going to happen. So as long as people believe that, it's all about belief.
Yes, it is. And I love that analogy of the train. Once the train's on the tracks and it's going, and you're going, well, we're shooting it this day, so jump on quick, because if not, we're going to get someone else. And that was really inspiring for most people, because they want to be involved in a film that's actually happening. And the fact that you're now going, well, we have a date, we've got some money, we've got this cast, we're going to go shoot. Things actually start happening. And it's crazy when you do that, but they do. It's like, it needs something really big for it to not happen, like, they're the dates, there's the money, we're shooting it. You start booking locations. So let's talk about that then. How did you plan it? Did you do all the storyboards? Did you do all the production daily?
I'm not a big storyboard person. I had a great DP. So kind of what really helped us would, after we had done the tech scout, him and I would circle back to the locations, and then we would just block it out ourselves. So when we actually got to the location, we already knew exactly what we were doing. And so for me, that was better than storyboards, because storyboards always happen usually before the locations are picked. So it's going to have to change no matter what. So that's what worked best for me. And then smartly, like I said, I've produced a lot of things here in LA, so I kind of know what you can and can't get away with. So we purposely, there's like a 30-mile zone. Do you know what a zone is? Like if you, for the unions, it's from the city point and then you can travel 30 miles in like a circle. And like
What's that? So this is an American law. Go on.
So that keeps you inside the zone so you don't have to pay mileage for people going outside of the zone.
Yeah. Okay, fine.
So it's not a distant location. But what I would do is I planned everything. So it's 30 miles. I would do everything like at the 26th mile. So these were all, well, they were all
pushing
like
people.
little bitty towns that nobody shoot in. So like one was Palmdale, another one was West Covina. We were in Long Beach for a little bit. We would just go to places that people usually don't show up and ask to film. And then we got, great deals. And permitting was a little bit easier as well. So that all really helped us. But did
you do that then? Did you go round beforehand and just sort of drive around and go, well, that'd be nice. Should we just go and knock on it?
Oh, I did crazy amounts of scouting. Well, at first, when I thought we had more money, we were going to go. I wanted to go to Austin. I wanted to bring it back to Austin, shoot everything there. A majority of the movie takes place in Texas. So that was my plan. And then when that kind of blew up, then we kind of retreated back here. And then I was going to a little town, kind of even outside the zone, because I was like, oh, we'll just travel like a small group. And we looked at Bakersfield because they have a really huge country music history, like Merle Haggard's from there and Buck Owens and all these different people. And they have a huge honky tonk called the Crystal Palace that's really cool. But then it just we couldn't afford it, because I would even have to put myself up. That's a cost as well. So then, we retreated back here. So the producer did some scouting. I did some scouting. Yeah, I had one location manager buddy that kind of turned me on to some places, but for the most part, it was exactly what you said, was us making phone calls and knocking doors. And it's crazy. This is a really good story. There was a moment in the movie where I wanted this epic scene where Buckshot gets mad at Charlie and he throws the RV. They're in this, sorry, I'm going to back up. They're in this stone quarry, and they're at the top of the quarry. And he brings the kid there because this is a place where he used to escape because they're in Buckshot's hometown. This is a place that he used to escape when he was younger because his dad didn't like him singing. So he would come here and he would sing into the quarry canyon, and then the sound would come back and he could hear his own voice. So he brings the kid there, but things kind of go awry, and the RV ends up going over the cliff and down in the rock quarry, which, for the amount of money we had was probably not likely. But I looked for the rock quarry and I was trying to figure out ways to fix it. Well, we had found this awesome bar, and I was leaving the bar. They said, well, hey, there's a like a Knights of Columbus hall. It's like a church gathering hall, but they have like a little stage setting, and then they also have a little bar. And I was like, oh, I'll go over there and check it out. And when I got over there, I saw the little stage, and I was like, oh, this is perfect, because it looks like a little, I don't know what they would call it, but like a VFW. It's like a veterans bar, like where retired veterans go to hang out. They call them VFWs.
Yeah, working man's club.
Working man's club. There you go. So it was like that with a little bar, and then it had this awesome stage, and I was like, oh my God, this could be like Little Town, Texas. And this, instead of going to the rock quarry, he would sneak in here and he would get on stage and he would listen to the reverberation of his voice. And so I rewrote the whole scene to fit in there. And it's one of my favorite scenes in the movie. And that just happened because I found the right location, and it inspired me to rewrite it to fit that. So,
and I think that happens a lot with indie filmmakers. We often get to the location where we go, well, this is kind of the best of a bad bunch. You then have to rewrite your script to fit, because you just have to. The door isn't that way anymore, or there's no roof on it, or there's no, the way you'd set it out in your mind, or a certain character has to come through a trap door. Well, there's no trap door in this location, so you have to rewrite it. It just is. And I think we do, it's kind of that thing we have to just get used to as indie filmmakers, and we kind of don't expect it. We kind of go, oh no, someone will sort that. Someone will build me a trap door, but it's not. With the amount of fake doors I've used in films where they go nowhere, they're just against a blank wall. We stuck a door there and someone comes through it, right, sneaks through, and yeah, it works. So many films I've done it in now.
I love it. We were shooting at another location. Charlie, the main character, was supposed to make a phone call from one of the honky tonks or something, and we didn't have access to it that day. And so I'd walked out and I saw a payphone, which you don't see a payphone hardly ever. And we'd already established early in the movie that his cell phone gets destroyed. And so anyway, we looked around for police officers, and then we ran over there and got him on the phone and started shooting and just popped it off right there. And it looks great in the movie. It's like really cool. But that was another happy accident.
I love those. You've just got to steal shots wherever you can. I think as indie filmmakers, if there's a shot you like, sometimes you've got to ask permission, but other times it's just like, let's just go shoot there until someone tells us not. I mean, you're not breaking the law, you're just getting a shot secretly.
It's true. It's true.
What we have to do.
It's exciting.
Because otherwise your movie's got to make sense. And it can be, you're right, really exciting. So let's talk about the shooting of it then. How, like you say, was it exciting for you, or was it quite daunting now that you're stepping up to direct a feature?
It was daunting. I mean, with the budgets that I had and most of my friends are, super high end, technicians, and I couldn't ask them to take 2 weeks and hang out on a low budget movie set. So I had to I ended up getting a producer that kind of came from that world. And it was somebody that was younger. And I was like, you know what? This is a person that I can teach. Like, I can help produce most of it. It's just once we get closer to production, I don't want to touch any of that stuff. I don't want to even have to think of it. And he did a great job in that way. So it was learning curves for me is what I expect on a set, like the amount of professionalism and things that I think I should have, or things should operate in a certain way. It took me a while to kind of change my mindset that a lot of people are learning and a lot of people are going to make mistakes, but they're here to help. So once I changed my mindset for that, it got a lot easier. And it was super exciting every day that I worked with the actors, and especially Tim. It just got more and more exciting because I was watching this transformation that was happening in front of my eyes. And the first time you hear your script read out loud, or you see it, it's so amazing. It's so amazing. Yeah. And to go back to your question though about prep, and I'll slip this in there too. We didn't really do any rehearsals, but I did. The one thing that I was so valuable was that we did just a 1-day thing where the two leads, Connor and Tim, we just sat down and did a table read together, and we made a lot of changes to the dialogue, and we kind of already had most of our talks, so that when we got on set, we knew we were going to have to move so quickly we wouldn't have that time. So that was invaluable. So I recommend that to anyone that can do that. I mean, it was a little easier for us because the majority of the movie are just two people. So I didn't get to rehearse or even meet with the other actors.
Right. So it's just when they came on to sort of your set.
A lot of people I auditioned, but like I said, some of the people that Tim knew that brought on, like Frank Collison and Alan Wasserman, I was like, I'm not going to ask these guys to read. Like they're great. And then we did have a conversation on the phone for sure. I just didn't have time to, run through the scenes with them and do things that I would have wanted to do, but it still worked out really great.
Well, again, you're working with the high-end talent there that already know what they're doing, so it's a case of they understand the setup. It's not like it's someone new where you've got to talk them through it
completely.
This is someone who knows what they're doing, so it does make a difference. But it is nice to get that rehearsal, and I think now is the perfect time for people to do table reads over Skype now these days. The Zoom conferencing, actors are always up for it, and actually it saves hiring a venue. Just do it online. Now's a great time, but actually in the future as well, I think this has opened up a huge market for, we've got a new script, let's just listen to it. And actors always bring something that you didn't see.
Yeah.
There's a bit where my character disappears and then comes back there, and aren't they still pissed off with them, or aren't they? And you go, oh God, yeah, it was in another scene that got taken out or whatever. And I think it's vital, those little moments.
It's a great idea.
It's great that you got to do that.
That's a great idea. And I've even heard of, have you seen the movie Thunder Road?
Yeah, of course. Jim Cummings, he's been on the podcast.
So great. But he's a big proponent of, he did his whole movie as a podcast, which I think is really smart as well.
He played all the characters, which is really fascinating.
No, it was one of my
I don't think
favorite movies.
He doesn't put it out. Yeah, it's great, isn't it? Thunder Road? Really
it blew
good.
Me out. And they made that in Austin, which is great as well.
Yeah. Yeah, but that was on the basis of his really successful short film as well.
Oh, I love the short.
Which is just great. I'm trying to find the episode number. There you go. 110, Jim Cummings. He's great. He's great. When I was over in LA recently, I messaged him to meet up and stuff. He's just a really wonderful indie filmmaker guy who's, top of his game right now.
And he's a good ambassador for indie film as well.
Big fan. Yeah, so he did that and you were like, well, you can do it too, and you're going out there and you're making it. What problems did you encounter along the way? What things can our listeners learn?
I would say, and Robert Rodriguez kind of, in his book, Rebel Without a Crew, his whole thing was, if you're going to do something for a really low budget, write around things that you can get or you have access to.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a big thing for me. Like, I knew we could get the RV. I knew about, the idea of changing the motels and bars, changing them around. And then the idea of actually only doing B-roll to places that you don't have to pay money to go to because you're already going there. That was really smart. So those were kind of the big lessons for me. And that, I probably had ambitiously more locations than I probably should have, even though I was using all of these tricks. Some places I just couldn't replicate. Like, for instance, so we shot 6 days and then a day off and then 7 more days. But the seventh day was just me, the DP, my wife, sound guy, and Tim and Charlie. So we only had like 5 people. Usually on a shooting schedule, you have something that you can keep carrying, like a kind of like as a cover set from day to day.
Mm-hmm.
And so for us, that was the RV because we had rented it for the whole period of time because we never knew that was our cover set. And it never rains in California. So it was more of a, hey, we didn't make our day because we were supposed to shoot some RV stuff. Let's move it to the next day, the next day. So at the end of the shoot, we had 1 full day in the RV. So we went out in the desert and powered it out.
Powered it out and did it. How was that 6-day shoots? Because a lot of people say 6 days is very hard on your crew. Obviously, it was only over 2 weeks, really. So
I think when it's only
bad,
2 weeks, it's fine. I mean, that movie I did, Kablooey, I think we did 24 days. So it was 4 6-day weeks. And even had some turnaround nights, where it's like Friday, you wrap at like 8 p.m. and then Sunday you're back at 8 a.m. or something crazy. So that wasn't great.
No. And what do you feel about that? Because like you say, you worked on so many films. And in terms of the fact that 5-day weeks are surely better to give the cast and crew rest, again, if you can afford it.
I also think if you do like 6-5-6 or 6-5-5-6, I think doing the 6th day at the end, there's not a problem. And maybe even at the beginning and then having kind of the 2-day break in the middle. I mean, it all depends on your budget. But you also have to think about the equipment. I mean, that's where of course you should think about the crew. I'm not saying that, but the cost really comes in with you have that equipment for an extra day sitting in a parking lot.
Mm-hmm. No,
because you rent it by the week. So,
well, the clever way to do that is to start on the weekend, so you get or end it so that you get those extra 2 days. There's clever ways you can deal with that, because obviously you often get weekends free and it goes back Monday morning, where you go, well, let's be clever about this and pick it up totally Friday night. You know what I mean? And then suddenly you've got that extra few days for free. But
I like the way
we did that on A Serial Killer's Guide to Life. Yeah, I think it's important.
No, it is.
So on indie films, you've got to save money wherever you can.
Definitely.
So now you're out there making it 6-day weeks. And what was your mind process like during that? Was it a case of just plow through, this is how I want to shoot this each day? Was it a new challenge, or how? Talk me through the filmmaking itself.
We did get lucky. There was no huge hiccups. Like, I never lost a location or had to flip a location. So pretty much what we planned, we could, I think the only exception was that RV that we were carrying. The other thing is just getting through the smaller days are so much easier. Like the first scene that we shot was a smaller day as compared to what we needed. And we were just in one spot, but I actually had the actors do like one of their big fights, which is probably not the best idea on the first day. But what it did for me was once we got through that day, that was when my confidence soared. I was like, I got this. Like, these guys are great. They did it. This is the first day. And when you watch the movie, you would never guess that scene was on the first day. So that gave me a lot of courage and a lot of strength. So that actually was a plus for me. But there's another really, and I don't want to give too much away in the movie, but there's a scene in a graveyard. And I purposely scheduled that for the middle of the shoot. And that was probably the most difficult day we had. Just was a very emotional shoot, and there was a lot of stuff going on. So that was really tough on Tim, the actor. That was kind of his big scene. So, but one of the other things that I did that I thought was kind of smart was I couldn't afford, well, here, let me back up. The whole movie kind of, the climax is they finally arrive at this, this big honky tonk venue that he's going to play this concert. So, I couldn't afford that venue in the schedule and in the budget at the time. So I said, let's shoot 13 days, get what we can get. And then we've got to go back one day to this honky tonk and shoot the rest of it. And that was great because I was able to edit for, I think because we waited, I think it was 2 or 3 months before we shot it. And it was a little harrowing because Tim had grown a handlebar mustache, which he didn't normally have for commercials and movies. So, every time he went on an audition, he would call me and go, well, I hope I don't get it because I'm about to shave, and I was prepared to maybe put, a fake one on him. But that was always like terrifying. And then I think there was even a couple days where I was going to get another quick pickup, and one of the actresses had dyed her hair from red to brown and refused to dye it back.
Yeah, it can happen.
It wasn't essential that I needed it, but I mean, if you do what I did, you could run into these things really easily. So you have to be careful. But the reason it helped me was because once we got into editing, there were some things that weren't working and some things I did want to reshoot. So I reworked them to fit into that day inside that honky tonk, and it was a game changer.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? How we can try and make it work and fit around it, and stick a hat on someone and suddenly they can't tell the hair's different, it's
completely
amazing.
So that was a godsend.
Yeah.
But those are the things that I think I learned. And if you have the opportunity to do, to schedule and budget, 1 or 2 days reshoots, that would be a real game changer. If you could do it, I would do it.
I totally agree. I think everyone should budget that into their budgets. The fact that you're getting 2 extra days, because you will always want pickups, and then the actors know this is happening. Without it, you can be a real problem.
Yeah, totally.
I think if you're putting it into the budget already, well, it's part of the budget, and if you don't use it, great, that can go on marketing or post or all those other amazing things that you forget you need when you're shooting a movie. Talking of which, how did you do the post then side of it? Did you get involved massively here?
Essentially, my producer, he was just kind of an on-set producer, and then once we wrapped, he was out of the picture. So I was going to take back the reins. So, and I had never, all the movies that I mentioned earlier that I'd produced, I'd never gone through post. So I'd done it with short films, but I'd never done it with features. So it was a whole different animal and a whole different learning curve. And my wife, she mostly does television and commercials. So she'd never done a feature. So it was us kind of figuring it out. And the good thing about me or us being the investors was there was nobody breathing down my neck. So it's kind of a good and bad thing. Like I didn't have a deadline to get it finished, but then we could only do it on weekends because we were both working. So we ended up editing for 2 years, which sounds like a long time, but there were so many, there were so many great things that changed. It's, if you have that amount of time and you can try so many different things and go through so many different versions and then walk away from it and then come back with fresh eyes, it makes a big difference. A really big difference.
Yeah, I agree with that, because things can get pushed out a bit too quickly. And things, I've had both sides of that. With Adair, I think it's 3 years in total. It's because we couldn't get back for reshoots, and now it's out, it's great, but I think it took that long. And whereas my King Arthur movie is, we shot it in November and we've just delivered yesterday.
That's crazy.
Suddenly, that's going to be out in July, and you kind of like, okay. It's sometimes that's how it works. Sometimes the deadline is great, but I suppose my point is, on the Dare, we had the time to sit and look at it and go, what's missing here? What's wrong? What can we make better? And that was, invaluable at the end of the day to make a better.
Yeah, and we were able to show it to a lot of great people. There's a commercial director I produced for that. He comes from the big budget world of editing. Like, he was an editor for a long time, and so he really taught me. We went through it, and I kind of understood tone, but on this one I was having a really tough time with it. And so he just showed me some pointers and really just sat down with me with the movie. And we didn't go through every scene, but he just tried to explain to me how just, a look here or a look there, or take out this line, or sit on this actor for a little bit longer and the tone's going to change. Suddenly my head opened. And I got it. I was like, oh, wait, I understand. So at that point, And this was me. I had dabbled a little bit of editing, way back like the early 2000s and hadn't really touched it since then. So I would have all these ideas and then I would try to make these changes. And I knew if I made them, it would take me 2 hours. And if I waited till Alyssa got home, she could do it in 20 minutes. And so this is something that continued for a couple months. And then finally I was like, just rolled up my sleeves and like, well, I'm just going to have to start doing things. So I kind of went in there, and this is after everything was kind of laid out, all the really hard stuff. But I went in there and started editing with this, different approach to tone. And then that's when the movie started taking form and kind of shaping into what it became. So that really changed the game for me.
That's amazing. I love that. I like that filmmakers open their eyes to stuff and sort of go, well, I actually had to learn to do that. Like Poppy Rowe learned to edit for A Serial Killer's Guide to Life. And you've done the same here with Buckshot. And it makes a better film. You become a better filmmaker. The next time you go shoot something, you see it with an editor's eye.
Yeah,
right?
No, it's completely true. And what I was doing was I would even... Because I had another one of my friends that helped do half the movie as like an assembly. And so he assembled half, then my wife assembled half, then we put it together, and then she started cutting. But what I did was I would get curious, like, well, why didn't they use that shot or this shot? So I started tearing the scenes apart to put them back together to see why they made those choices. And so I got really in depth and yeah, it opened a different side of my brain that I don't think I'd ever used before. And yes, it definitely, I just shot a short film at the beginning of this month. And so this is the first time I'm directing since Buckshot. And yeah, I felt myself, knowing how things would cut together. And then, before the coronavirus, I was like, oh, well, I'll just, ship it off to somebody and have them edit it. And then coronavirus happened in the lockdown. And I was like, well, maybe I should be sitting at home, like editing this. So
doing it.
I'm editing it as we speak. It's open on my computer. And yeah, it's been quicker for me. And also I feel more confident in doing it.
See, that's really great. It is. And so you obviously want to direct again now, obviously with Buckshot, getting out there.
Yeah, I have a feature that I'm working on. Well, I have one feature that I co-wrote with someone that's we're attempting to get funding, after the virus is over. And then I have another kind of more personal film that I've been writing and working on that I'll be still working on once the short's done. So
that's great. That's
the idea. And that movie, these personal movies, I kind of took the same idea where it's like it's only a couple characters, it's a lot of it's exteriors. If everything goes to hell, I could make it for no money. My sister owns some property in Washington, kind of in the forest.
Nice. Yeah, go shoot there. You're like, yeah,
so
why not?
Again, to the audience, use what you have, what you can get away with, and then you can build on that. So
great advice. So good.
Yeah, it may be even something that Tim comes back and stars in as well. So
why not? Keep that team. I love keeping my team together as much as possible. If there's people who are good,
very important.
Bring them in, like you've done, which is great. So you got the film released, worldwide, right? I mean, as far as you know, it's pretty much everywhere. How did you go about doing that? What did you do?
So we played at a lot of film festivals. Most of them were smaller, but we won some awards, which was great. And we traveled around with that. And then at the end of that, we ended up striking a deal with Entertainment Studios, Freestyle Media for North America streaming rights. So we got put out, on basically every platform in the United States, which was excellent and awesome.
Did you do the deals with that?
I did.
You do all the paperwork. Amazing, right? It's a hope that again opens your mind up to a totally new.
It did, and it's okay. So here's what I tell people, because I went back and forth because I built. I had a pretty strong, or I still do. I have a really strong social media following. It's almost after the everything debacle of the crowdfunding. I still had everything set up to still collect, emails and still get fans. All that was still going, and then I kind of became obsessed with that, and then. I was, I had like 50,000 Facebook fans and I don't know, like 100,000 Instagram and Twitter fans. And so anyway, I started building these country music fans and marketing to them. And then it just became it's almost like a full-time job. And I knew, because I was going back and forth between self-distributing and going with a distributor. Mm-hmm. And I knew if I did the self-distribution, we were talking like 2 years of my life of like doing it. And it's what is that, am I going, and that's with me only, I'd be able to only put it on a couple platforms, then have to get everyone to go to those platforms. Was it advantageous to do that and then I keep all the profits? Or do I scattershot and get it out to every platform, known to man? And then I can also, then my ego is in the way. It's like, well, hey, I got a distribution deal, which is a big deal. I understand that's a big deal. But that was more of an ego thing, I guess. So I went back and forth, and what I finally came up with is I just didn't want to. I'd already been spending the 6 months crowdfunding and then another 6 months marketing. And I just said, this isn't my game. I just didn't want to do it for that long. And who knows, maybe that means there was money left on the table or not. I can't tell you, but I would say if you're going to do the self-distribution, you need to start way ahead of time. Like even while you're writing the script, you should already have a Facebook page, a Twitter page, an Instagram page, a blog. I mean, it really is a full-time game, but then you see studios and you go on their Facebook or Twitter and they have like 100 followers. We just don't have 50 million to put stuff on television and, run ads and stuff like that. So.
No, you can't. So you thought, let's go with a distributor who can do that for us. And
it's true. But the one thing you have to keep in mind is that now you're a little cog in a giant machine. So no one, I don't care who they are. No one's going to care as much about your movie as you do. So
true.
But you have to, if you're going to go the distribution route, and I don't care who they are or what they sell you, they're not going to care as much as you care. So if you're that, I don't think the word's passionate, but if you're that driven and you want to be the one getting it out there, I mean, to be honest, I really wanted to do the 4-wall. I mean, like one of my dreams was packing up the guys in an RV, painting the RV, traveling town to town at Mama Pop's movie, setting it up and doing interviews, and I ran the money and did budgets for that and stuff, and it just didn't work out. But
maybe next time.
I still wanted, that was what was more exciting to me than anything. I mean, I love doing things like this. I love talking about the movie, and I love going on stage and with the actors and stuff and talking about it and seeing it with the whole crowd. And I wanted to bring the musicians, I had these awesome musicians that did the soundtrack, and I wanted to bring them along, and then you'd get like, we'd play, a couple songs from the movie at the beginning and then one at the end. But that was another dream.
Yep, next time. Well, next time, isn't it? That couldn't, see what happens. But Buckshot is available now around the world, Amazon UK, Amazon USA, and many platforms online as well. So do go check it out. YouTube Movies, cable and satellite on demand. Honestly, Josh Smith, thank you so much for your time.
Thank
Honestly,
you. This has been
brilliant. Absolutely. Where can people follow you then on your Twitter pages or your Instas? Give us those so people can jump on.
Twitter is at Buckshot Movie and Instagram is at buckshot.movie. And then just search Buckshot the Movie on Facebook as well.
There you go. And what about you? Have you got personal ones?
Yeah. And then I'm Enzo, E-N-Z-O Films. That's plural. And then the number 1.
There you go. Follow them, follow him, and get all your updates and information and ask Josh questions. Why not, right?
Bring it on.
That's it. Yeah,
the quarantine life. I'll answer anything
right now. Yeah, absolutely, mate. Absolutely, we'll get through this. I would say
all filmmakers get those scripts out. Keep writing.
That's it now. Keep writing.
You got something to do every day. Get you a 9 to 5.
So true. The people that all that time, the people going, "Oh, I could have written what that."
No excuses now, man. Start doing it.
Totally, man. This is the problem. This is where the fear kicks in, and the actual reality of it. Oh shit!
It's good to take your mind off it. I love having to edit every day and not look at the news, at least until the night.
Yeah, so. I know. And luckily, I've got the podcast, and I speak to our listeners. Hello, listeners, through here. So there is this that I've got as well, which is great, as well as writing scripts right now. Josh, thank you again. Absolute pleasure. Remember who your audience is and get out there and make your indie film. And if you're lucky enough to rise up and do well, it's your duty to send the elevator back down. Until next Tuesday, when we will see you, do like and subscribe to this podcast if you haven't already, and tell your friends. And we'll thank Josh Smith again. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening. We will see you next Tuesday. As always, you absolute legends. Until Tuesday, when we have Jill Gavorgazian on, we will see you then. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye. Yeehaw!
Do you like comedy? Do you like animals? What about science? Do you dig plants? What about writing, snacks, rambling, and rants? Filmmaking, improv, and interviews? Canadians, Australians, boating forecasts, and soup reviews? Perfectly picked packages popping up, podcasts pointing people to discover other podcasts. check out the Podfix Network, podfixnetwork.com. Plus, check out Podfix Presents wherever fine podcasts are found. The Podfix Network, artist-owned and loved.